From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicky Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Captain's Log Supplemental.
So, Miss Vicky.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember when we were watching those WRL events and some of those grid life events where you used to see the in-car video and it had like the cameras seeing front and back, but it also could see all the telemetry and everything that was going on?
Mm-hmm.
You know, most of the ones that we liked were taken by the Sentinel system. Remember James came on our podcast earlier?
Right.
You know, we have no excuse since he lent us one for trial and demonstration purposes. We should actually probably put that in one of our cars. Maybe two.
I really think we should.
I think we should.
I know.
Because then we'd look like the immature endurance racing team that we are. Oh, wait, I mispronounced that, didn't I? Sorry, my bad. We could
So what does the
have,
Sentinel system do?
we could have 3 cameras with picture-in-picture. We could have, if we ever get the AIM system to work, open invitation to anybody from AIM to come on and give us a little bit of love. We need some help. And then we could have all our telemetry on there. And then we can have it streamed live into the paddock or around the world to our millions of fans. We're apparently very popular in Kenya right now. Don't know why, but that's fine. And it can integrate all the available race statistics from like Race Hero and everything. So we could actually see how we're doing on video. We wouldn't even have to carry around our phone anymore. Live.
I love it.
Dominating with Dawson.
Ben Dawson, I have a question from me.
Oh, great. Bill, I'm a big fan of yours. Let's address your question.
You really need to aim higher, but that's fine. So I realized through all the hundreds of questions that we've asked you, we have never really talked about this. And I was kind of hoping the ladies would be here, but they tagged out tonight. But that's okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, that kid would not go to sleep. It's 11:48 at night right now.
It's fine. Jen's been asleep for 6 hours. It's good. So we talk about the butt dyno.
Yeah.
And we talk about hands and feet, pedals.
Yep.
But we never talk about what you should be feeling or thinking about feeling. We just talk about them like, oh, you should know. I mean, it's no big deal. Like I remember when I was learning how to threshold brake, which is when you maximally apply pressure to the brake in a fairly quick fashion, and then you're kind of at the limit of your braking. I was always talking to a couple of friends of ours that said, if I could just if we could sit on the ground and I could have my feet up and you could treat them like they're the pedal. And if you could just hit the brake, then I would know what threshold brake feels like. But otherwise you don't really know. So I thought maybe we'd give it a try and say, what do you feel through the steering wheel? What do you feel through the feet? What do you feel through your butt?
The easiest answer to threshold braking and what do you feel comes from any car that doesn't have anti-lock brakes or ABS. Because what you'll feel if you're past threshold brake is you'll feel yourself sliding, and you may observe smoke pouring off the tires as you see the trails of smoke in the mirror. Like, where's all that smoke coming from? So those are some of the sensations you have in a car with no ABS out of the gate if you overshoot the threshold.
I was going to go with you feel your wallet getting lighter as you're torching a set of tires.
You feel the dollars growing wings and flying right out of your wallet as you do that. Well, no, and let's also repeat the often used catchphrase on the show. Take your worst flat spotted tire, move it from where it was, obviously on the most loaded up corner of the car, move it to the least loaded up corner of the car, probably like an X from where it was to where it needs to be, diagonally across the car to the rear, and you're probably going to live the fight another day because you're not going to be locking that tire up on the rear a lot. So Don't freak out if you do a flat spot. You can probably move the tire around and use it somewhere else on the back end somewhere. It's not going to be a big deal. Anyway,
Unless you have high
car,
skill and you can get the often pursued but rarely executed perfectly 4 flat spotted tires at once. Now
yeah, yeah.
that's a skill.
Hang it up on that set of tires. But or if you truly do roast a hugely visible flat spot into a tire, probably not going to move it to the back. But if you locked them up a little bit and you're worried about that tire, just move it to the back and move on with your life. But
just give them to your front wheel drive friend and tell them to put them in the back because they don't do anything back there anyway.
Yeah. And most of us aren't doing enough. Most of us don't have enough power to be worried about what you might do with the compromised tire as you move to the rear. So just a little pro tip for you and your wallet. What are we talking about?
Feeling, steering wheel, pedals, seat.
Yeah. If things are going well, I want the steering wheel to feel light in my hands. You know what I mean? I want it to be low effort.
What if the effort changes in the middle of a turn? Like, is it telling you something?
Yeah. So if you're got your steering wheel turned in on the angle that you're expecting to make the turn, you've done your braking, you've released your brakes on the arc into the turn, and like a nice trail brake, and you got your hands kind of turned. You think you're pointing toward the apex, but then maybe the effort required gets light. Like suddenly the wheel gets light. What does that tell you? What do you think is happening if the wheel gets light?
Tells me I'm about to make an adjustment, sir.
Well, yeah, but I mean, and maybe I'm imagining this wrong, but I mean, I'm picturing like if I'm going through and the wheel suddenly takes less effort, it probably means that the back end is stepping around. That's a feeling for me that means that the back end has gotten light and it's starting to come around. If it feels like it's taking more effort, usually that means that the front end is taking more effort to get turned in. So usually light feeling makes me feel like I'm probably having an oversteer. Heavier feeling through the wheel makes me feel like I'm probably having an understeer. Does that ring true with you?
It's one of those. I knew this was going to be fun because you kind of got to quantify what you just naturally do.
Yeah.
So in my head, if it starts to feel light, like I don't have to exert any pressure, less pressure to turn it more, I'm thinking I'm starting to it's starting to give up and it's starting to plow a little bit.
Oh, for me, if it gets light, usually that's the time where the rear is sliding. It starts to feel light to me. So I feel like that lightness, or I feel like I was having to make some effort to turn it until it suddenly got light. And then when I feel it get a little bit light, I know I'm going to have to kind of turn back against that to counter steer it to counter the oversteer. Excuse me. So yeah, but it feels to me like if I'm going in with my, I've turned in on what I think my arc should be, and the car starts to plow. Suddenly, I'm having to turn the wheel more. So instead of it gets to a certain lightness and I turn away to kind of counter steer, if it feels like it starts to get heavy, then also usually I'm associating that with maybe trying to put more angle in to go ahead and get the car to turn. And that's what I think of with understeer. It feels like more effort to try to get the car turned.
Well, all right. So I don't know if I do it right. It's, hey, it's racing. I think my hands feel the front wheels and my butt feels the rear wheels.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me that's probably true too. I think I'm feeling most of what's happening with the car through my hands and the wheel, and my butt is kind of the reference to go, yep, that's what you felt. You know what I mean? But my first decision maker and kind of translator is my hands are translating whatever they're sensing to my brain, which is going like, all right, you're getting loose, or you're about to get loose, or whatever. So I do feel, yeah. I mean, I feel the rear slide probably with my butt and my hands. The front, I probably feel mostly. If I'm understeering, I'm feeling it with my brain and my hands because I'm angry that I'm understeering.
Well, you got your eyes too, right?
Yeah, you got your eyes. You can tell kind of where you're going. Like if suddenly the car pivots and you're rotating, you're like, hey, I'm headed the right way. I'm going to point and go. To me, that's a lighter feeling. Like where the car rotates perfectly, and you kind of have just the same amount of effort through it. You balance your car all the way through, and the car feels pretty smooth. Like as soon as you accelerate, it should be a smooth transfer to the rear, and you plane off on your way out. Your car should plane off like a boat. Hopefully, not a lot like a boat, but that's the concept. Is when the boat planes off, that means you're taking all that weight off the rear, more weight goes back to the front, and it's sailing through the water, and that's kind of where you want to be when you're heading straight. So you want to have the car hold that same effort. If the car is perfectly balanced and neutral, you're going to kind of and your timing and angles are good, right? So as long as you and the car are doing what you're supposed to do, you braked the right amount, you're turning in with the right amount of speed where you hear the tires chirp as you're going toward the apex, and you don't have to change your angle at all, and you just hook it right at the apex and kind of going out. The car planes off as you open your steering wheel. That's all about the same amount of effort. But when I feel the car starting to get a little bit loose, which means you're losing grip in the rear, I think you're right. I'm pretty sure I feel that in my butt, but also I'm starting to feel it. I can feel the wheel get light in my hands, and that's when I know I kind of need to steer back. To me, the heavy feeling definitely is like, oh crap, I got to turn this wheel more. I'm plowing. The understeer to me feels like a heavier event and sensation altogether, because you're not, right when you think you ought to be going, suddenly you're having to add more effort to get the turn done, which you think ought to be done. You know what I mean? So you're at least in my mind, I'm aware that I'm already slowed down getting out. I'm already annoyed that I'm having to do more than I thought I was going to have to do. So to me, the understeer is way more frustrating and feels heavier. Whether if you put the dyno on the wheel and tell how much pressure it takes to do one or the other, it feels like a heavier, worse situation to me. So maybe I'm just associating it with heaviness because I don't like it.
So what about if you start feeling the steering wheel start to shake almost?
Do you have that app?
A couple times when I had.
You mean like you're understeering so hard you start getting a little bite, like
Yeah.
I don't think I've had that happen a lot. Yeah.
Not often. But
yeah, I mean, I think if
I was asking way too much of what I was trying to do.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty out of pocket situation. But yeah, I would imagine that if I felt that would be telling me, hey, something's not working with us trying to escape the situation we're in. Like if I'm trying to get out of a corner, I'm going blah 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 blah. I'm chattering the front wheels. Then I'm probably trying too hard. Probably trying to trying to exit.
Your plan was not optimal. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I think hopefully as soon as I felt like the first little bit of chattering, I'm hoping I would be like, all right, well, I've biffed it. I'm gonna have to add some brake just to get everything hauled back down, or I have to come back out of the throttle. But I'm gonna have to do something to correct this. I can't keep blah 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 because I'm gonna blah 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 right out the track.
Right.
So
the other thing that you should be paying attention to, and there's not much you can do about it if you're in the middle of a stint, is if you start feeling like a car wiggle, especially if you're just going straight. You've either got an alignment issue, or a car weight balance issue, a tire balance issue, or something is not quite good, and there's not a lot you can do about it in the middle.
Yeah, that's one of those ones where, depending on your level of mechanical understanding and sympathy, because I mean we're talking to mostly endurance racers too. So what's always in the back of our mind? The fact that this car is not just my car to drive this weekend. This is a car that I want everybody to be able to drive. So,
right.
If I'm worried that there's a suspension bolt backing out and it's the only one we got, and if it backs out, the wheel's going to fall off and it's going to wreck this and wreck that. You know what I mean? Like if I'm worried that what I'm experiencing might be a problem that's going to take the car out of commission, or might be a cascading issue that's going to screw this up and screw this up. Yep. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
I think there's no dishonor in like backing it down a little bit. If
you're
like, if you're like, hey, I'm not sure what's going on with this, let me just try a lap at, a little bit of a reduced pace, just to kind of see if I'm still feeling it. Am I feeling it's, just that's a time to start to diagnose. Like, I'm noticing this when I'm going over 90 down a straightaway, but not any other time. It seems this is a good time to observe if the thing you're noticing, does it sound like it's the frequency is increasing with the speed of the engine or the wheels, or is it a constant da 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 da, no matter what the engine or the wheels are doing? So there's stuff you can learn about it as long as you don't feel like it's an imminent threat.
Yep.
But
and
overall,
how much is left, right?
Right. And overall, you want to be thinking of the fact that, hey, this thing doesn't seem to be getting any better. In fact, it's getting worse. I better bring it in. Or no, it's just a this. And I'll talk to the team and they think it's just a this. So let's just keep going. Then when we come in, we'll take a look at the this, or we'll ignore the this. So you know what I mean? Like it's good to kind of feel it out and communicate as long as you feel safe about it, right?
Yep.
That's another butt down. So that's a butt down thing where you suddenly have to become a mechanic in your head and just do the best you can, right?
And usually if you do this for a decent amount of time, you can tell which wheel. Like it's like front left, back right. And some of these things you should try to drive through. Some of these things you should bring the car in after some conversation. And some of these things you should bring the car in as soon as you get to the pit entrance.
Yeah, it's it just kind of has to depend on what you think is going on. But yeah, that's another thing to feel is, when is the car slipping and losing grip? When is the car not functioning optimally? one thing to feel is you want to feel if your car is not making the power it used to make too. If you're like, man, everybody's blowing my doors off, and I used to come out of this corner at this RPM, and I'll pull in, it's like, this many RPM now.
Yep.
So a lot of stuff to kind of keep monitoring and being aware of in your race car. Your gauges, of course, but things that our butt dyno are telling us can inform us on how the car is doing. It can inform us on what we need to be doing with the car, what we're doing well, what we're doing, what's not working.
What's changing?
Keep going, yeah, what's changing? We might be wearing the tires down, or we might be burning the fuel off. So suddenly this car didn't want to go around turn 3 at the beginning of the stint when we were full of fuel. Suddenly this car is easier to whip around turn 3 with less brake because we're lighter, you know what I mean? Or something like that. So it's always a moving target. You always want to kind of try to optimize it. And your butt dyno can be one of your best buddies while you're trying to optimize it, because you can't go to the real dyno in the middle of the race and nobody's going to help you drive the oh yeah, you could, but nobody's going to help you drive the car in there. It's you in there doing it. So the more finely tuned you can get your butt dyno to kind of tell you what's really happening with the car, the better.
Exactly.
So that's one of those things that really just comes with more and more seat time. You just kind of feel like, oh crap, this is what's happening. Boom, boom, boom. I'm going to correct it with this, this, and this. Or if you're less experienced, you go, oh crap, that's happening. Hello, wall.
We are done for the day. One tip that a friend of ours, John, gave us a few years ago for the wheel weights. He recommended you use the that foil tape you use for HVAC and tape them to the wheel.
Or you could never balance a race tire ever and not even fucking worry about the weights.
Well, I mean, there is that.
So thank you, John, but also, there are other ways. There is to skin that cat too.
That's right.
I'll say this: when you get your butt dyno tuned up pretty good, and that means you're able to kind of run the car. You got your timing down pretty good. You're able to adjust to this car because it's still, most of us are still driving cars that are basically street cars, slightly tuned for the track with a little bit better suspension, maybe a little bit better brakes. But ultimately,
hopefully,
you're driving a street car. Yeah, you're driving a street car, which is going to need to be. I think it's fair to say you're driving a street car that's going to need to be corrected a fair amount of times if you're asking the right amount of stuff out of it. Mm-hmm. So if you watch a good driver driving and you watch their in-car, or you watch me, good driver or me, you're going to see a lot of little hand corrections, like a little wiggling the wheel back and forth, trying to compensate for the car was a little bit loose here, maybe digging a little deeper where it's tight, but it shouldn't. You're probably not going to see huge movements back and forth. But even then, those little corrections are like little wrecks that we don't let happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those are us asking for a little more than we know the car can give us. And then when the car balks at it, correct a little bit, move on. Correct a little bit, don't hit the wall. Correct a little bit, don't spin out, move on. So the more and more attuned your butt dyno gets, the more and more you can hang it out and ask for more than the car can give you. And then when it says, you go, okay, I got it. So that's where butt dyno ultimately comes down to me, is feel for the car. So I feel the butt slipping a little bit, or I feel the wheel get a little bit light in my hands, or it feels heavy. That's all just kind of physical context that you want to build up for yourself. So suddenly, instead of everything being an upset, you're just something you kind of, it's just like a hurdle. You just run through that hurdle, but you keep your pace going. You know what I mean? You don't let the hurdle slow you down.
I think the goal is to have more and smaller corrections.
Yeah. If you're doing it right, that car is going to need you to constantly mind it like what's it called? What's the over-managing thing? What's it called when your boss is micromanaging? You need to be an annoying early 2000s boss, just micromanaging the crap out of that car, because you're going to be asking that little employee of yours to do way more than it can do, and you're driving it nuts. It's going to come in all hot and bothered and mad at you, but you've achieved your goal of moving the bottom line further up the field, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just to complete that comparison of you being a mean little boss to that car.
Why do you keep looking at me on this one? What's going on here, Bill?
I'm looking at you because we're on a Zoom call. I think you're cool.
All right, I'm just making sure. I was wondering what you were hearing down there.
Well, what are you? Are you confessing to something right now? Are you?
No. Just saying.
You have a lot of spreadsheets. You have a lot of spreadsheets.
I do have a lot of spreadsheets, but I never make anybody use them. So
that's true. I've never been subjected to a spreadsheet, and I praise you for that. Thank you.
Well, I did send you one, which you've ignored.
I didn't look at it, but yes.
I know. I sent it, though. You said, hey, could you send that? And I said, sure.
What's so funny is I looked at it, and I was like, I am way too dumb for this. So I did look at it. I'm just not smart enough to use it. Thank you, though.
See now, if you want to, it literally will take you less than 5 minutes because it makes sense once you know what the codes are. Because I have everything color coded. Only touch the yellow stuff. But anyway,
I'm gonna
it's
check it
fine.
out.
Yeah. we got a better chance of you not being a Latin major. That's fine. Very well. Thank you, Ben.
Do you have any more thoughts about butt dynos? Did we cover the butt pretty well?
I mean, everything but.
Everything but. Well, I know that our listeners are so good about hitting us with feedback and follow up questions and follow up better ideas. So if anybody's got some butt dyno stuff they want to tell us, stories, video, especially video of your finest butt dyno save or failure or success moments, hit us with that.
We could get some rather weird videos about people and their butt dyno proclivities, but we may have to edit some of them.
Butt dyno is probably the name of some sort of sex toy or something. We should stop saying it. I don't know.
Gotta be.
We're gonna be the search. The SEO on this episode is gonna be all messed up.
I know. Our OnlyFans site will have those videos. It'll be fine.
Yeah, we got it.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.